Hello, Crafty Friends. This is Jen, and thank you for joining me today. My card for you today uses Fawn's new watering can and lovely Lily of the Valley die set, which I recently purchased. So I was very excited to get started using this set. My card starts off with an A2 size card base, and I believe I used a top fold card using a light blue cardstock. And it's not a very heavy cardstock. It's probably about 80 pounds. I'm just scoring it at 5.5 inches down the middle. And that's a very old Martha Stewart scoring board. I'm just going to use my bone folder to make sure that I have a good crisp fold on the fold line. And now we're all set. So I die cut this second rectangle using smooth heavyweight cardstock, and I used a double stitch border stacks die from My Favorite Things. And I've die cut all the pieces for the Fawn die sets that I got. I used mostly smooth white heavyweight cardstock for all of these, except for the watering can. I used a light gray cardstock from My Favorite Things. I believe it's called Cement. So here I'm just trying to kind of place everything out to see where I want it to go. So I have an idea of, once I have all my pieces, where everything is going to be placed. The watering can die set comes with the little seed packet, the watering can, the heart, and 2 little gardening tools. And the lovely Lily of the Valley die set comes with the leaves and the plants and everything you need to make 2 little Lily of the Valley plants. Here I've die cut a green grass border piece using the same My Favorite Things double stitched border die in the largest size. And I'm just using Distress Oxide ink in Mowed Grass and Rustic Wilderness to just give the grass some detail. Now I'm going to add clouds to the background using Distress ink in Peacock Feathers. And I like just using regular Distress ink instead of the Distress Oxide because it doesn't go on as thick and heavy. And I'm using my clouds stencil from My Favorite Things. And I'm just lightly going over this with a blending brush, turning the stencil here and there so that each of the clouds look different. And I'm just testing out, okay, where the grass is going to end up, and I'm just adding some more blue at the bottom. And now we're going to glue on the grass piece. And I'm just using Lineco Neutral pH glue in a fine tip bottle that I also got from KarenBerniston.com. I'm not putting anything in behind the grass, so I'm just making sure that that's really glued down. And now I'm going to start working on my pieces. I'm going to tape off parts of the watering can just so that I can add some detail without going over other pieces that I don't want colored in with ink. I'm using this really good pink removable tape. I think it's a Pixie brand. Now that I have that taped off, I'm going to go in with Hero Art Shadow Ink and Wet Cement and just a small blending brush. And I'm going to start adding some detail to the watering can. And then what the tape will do is give it some dimension. When you take the tape off, you'll see like the watering can part looks shaded. And then I'll go in and do the handle and the spout separately. And this smaller brush is perfect for this watering can. As I was making this, I thought, oh, wouldn't it be great if you could make it a little rusty? And I think that wet cement ink, along with maybe Fawn's No. 2 pencil ink, would probably give it a really good look. And I think in the future I'm going to try that. So I'm just going around the handle now. And you can see that nice fine line that tape gave the watering can middle part with. And now I'm going to do the spout. And that watering can just really pops now. So I'm going in and I'm going to start coloring the leaves for the Lily of the Valley plant. I'm using G29, G07, and G14. I'm going to start with the darkest color first. And we're going to start by adding shadow to the leaves. So you have to think about when you're coloring a plant, where is the shadow? So it's going to be deeper into the plant. Like if these were leaves around the lily of the valley and the sun is shining, the lower part of the leaves are going to be shadowed. So I'm just going in with the darker color to where I feel like the shadow would be. And because lily of the valley leaves kind of curve in, I'm making sure to show that kind of inner section there. Now I'm going in with the middle color, making sure to blend with the darker color. I'm not going to show coloring all 4 of the leaves. Again, that's kind of redundant. So I'm just going to show you one, but all 4 are done the exact same way. And you really want to make sure that you blend the darker color with this middle color. Because once you start with the lighter green, it will make it a lot easier to blend all 3 colors together. So now I'm going in with the G14, which is the lighter green color, and I'm just blending that all together. And you don't have to color your die cuts. This is just something that I really enjoy doing. You could just go with a green cardstock and you could use different kinds of Distress Oxide inks to give it some detail. You could even color onto a green cardstock with Copic markers if that's what you chose to do. So there's different ways that you can do it, or you can just leave it as green cardstock and go from there. So I've done all 4 of those leaves, and now I'm moving on to the little Lily of the Valley buds. Now usually these are white, and it's kind of hard to just leave them white. So normally I would use brick white Copic ink, but I think I wanted to try something different. So I'm going in with E50 eggshell Copic ink. And I'm just adding a small amount of detail to the tip, or to the part that would attach on to the stem. And I do this for all of the little flower buds. So now we're moving on to the stems of the flowers. And I'm using G29, G07, and YG25, my absolute 100% favorite green color combination. And I'm just going in with the darker green color to show the shadow. And I know it gets a little tricky when the die cuts get thin, but the best part about these Copic markers is that they blend so well together. So you're not going to see if the lines are kind of jagged or not. I'm just going in with the middle color now. And just making sure that I blend that darker green with the middle green. And now we're going to go into the YG25. Now I don't need to color the little circle areas because that's just where the flower buds are, like the little flowers are going to attach onto the stems. So I've just left those white. Now I have both my stems colored and I'm going to add my flowers onto the stems. And I'm just using a little dab of glue onto each little circular area. And I'm holding that down with my brand new eraser, as my son lost my other eraser. And I'm just using my tweezers to help me put these flowers in place. This is such a pretty die set. I just love these little lily of the valleys. I don't like my backyard being overtaken with them, which it has been. And we've been slowly trying to remove all of the lily of the valley that decided to grow everywhere, my grass and my garden. And it is very pretty, but it definitely takes over our garden in real life. But this card turned out very pretty. So now those are all glued on, and we're on to the next step, which we're going to be coloring the little heart that goes onto the watering can. And we're also going to add the little white part under the spout where the three little holes are. So for this heart, we're going to go with R59, R29, and R24. This is again another one of my favorite color combinations to use for reds. I'm just going in where the shadow will be, going around with the middle red, blending it into the cardinal color. And then I'm going in with the lighter red to color in the rest of the heart. And that's ready to go. Now I'm going to glue that onto the watering can. Just removing that little bit there. And then we're going to add the white piece to the back of the spout. And there we go. We're all finished with the watering can. So now we're going to make the little seed packet, and I chose to use a light pink cardstock for this. I thought that was really pretty, and I'm going in with picked raspberry distress oxide ink. And I found that it was a little too dark, so what I did was go in with spun sugar to kind of smooth it out. And once that's all kind of blended well together, and I'm just going to do the top of the packet. And get that all inked up. And I just thought it needed a little more of that picked raspberry. Now you could stamp on here and say flowers or seeds or anything you wanted, but I decided that since the Lily of the Valley were the main theme, I was going to make this a packet of Lily of the Valley seeds. So I'm just going to glue the lip of the packet on, and then I had some extra Lily of the Valley flowers left. So I'm going to glue one of those onto the front of the packet once that glue has set for the lid. It's always a good idea to die cut extra things just in case you decide to use them. And a lot of the stuff that I die cut from is just scrap cardstock that I save. I have a little drawer set just of scrap cardstock, which I use quite often when it comes to die cuts, flowers, little things like that. And now our seed packet's done. So now we're going to move on to the tools. For the tools, I used a mirrored silver cardstock. And I just die cut the two handles in white heavyweight cardstock, and I'm using BG49 and BG15 to color these in. So nice teal blue color. I'm just going in to add some shadow to the handles. And then we're going to fill it in with the BG15 aqua color. And you could use a matte gray or matte silver cardstock to make the tools with, or you could use a gray, or you could even Copic market color them. But I really like the metallic color, the shiny mirrored color. Clearly gardening tools that haven't been used yet. And I'm just going to glue those handles on. And they're going to just need a little bit extra time to set because that is a mirrored cardstock. So I'm going to make my little banner. And I used a light blue cardstock, and I used Lawn Fawn's, it's like a banner. There's 3 little dies in it, and it makes little banners in different sizes that are wavy. And then there's a wavy stamp set that you can get with different sentiments on it. And I just used the happy birthday sentiment for this one. I'm using Versamark ink, and I'm going to use a silver cardstock. So at first I used not silver cardstock, I apologize, silver embossing powder. At first I used a white embossing powder, but that blue cardstock is just so light that the white hardly showed up. So I thought, well, let's go with something a little darker, and I thought silver would be good. So I'm just using my silver embossing powder now. And then I'm going to heat that with my heat gun. These little containers I got from Simon's Stamps, and they are absolutely amazing to hold your embossing powder with. And we're just going to heat that until it sets. And what I'd like to do too with this is let my heat gun run a little bit first and then use it so that it's good and hot when you go to heat emboss your sentiment. And that's ready to go now too. So now we're ready to put the card all together. But before I do, I want to put some double-sided adhesive to the back so that before I add anything onto it, if I had to turn it over and do this after all my little flowers and stuff are added onto it, I don't want to wreck it by pushing down or, possibly tearing something. So I like to put the double-sided adhesive tape on first. And I'm just folding the card base flat so I can get a good straight position onto it. And this is a neat little technique that I learned from one of the My Favorite Things design team members, was to pull back your double-sided adhesive tape a little bit and fold it back. And then you can position your die cut until it's nice and straight, and it won't completely adhere to the card backing. So you can kind of position it where you want and then push down, and then you can just carefully remove the rest of the tape, and then you always get your die cut adhered down good and straight, if that makes sense. I'm sorry if it doesn't. So let's put the card together now. So I have my watering can, and I'm just going to add my flowers to it. And what I'm going to do first is just kind of arrange them, push them down how far ever I need to. because I want to make sure that I have space for that happy birthday banner. And I'm just trying to kind of figure out where I want to put it. So I decide, I think I'm going to put it down here. So that means that I need a little more room with the flowers. But that's okay because we can just trim the bottom. So we're going to add all the flowers and the leaves into the watering can. And I just want to make sure that the leaves are in behind the flowers. Now some of the leaves have, like, there's a bigger part on the right and then a bigger part on the left. So you can kind of tell that the leaves go either to the left or to the right. So I'm just trying to organize that in the correct position as well. And then just double checking to make sure that everything fits into the card. And now that I know that it is, I can start gluing everything down. Another good tip would be to maybe add tape to the back of those leaves to hold everything in place. I just didn't have any Scotch tape at this time. So I'm just going to carefully glue the watering can and just the back of the stems at this point. I'm trying to be careful not to move any of the leaves and flowers. Just like that. I think a better way to do it, if I'd thought of it at the time, was to use the press and seal plastic wrap that you can get. It's almost like a removable adhesive, and it holds everything in place until you glue it down, and then you can remove the press and seal plastic wrap. It's a good tip I learned off of one of Jennifer McGuire's videos. So I'm just going to press this down. Now I haven't glued the flowers down, but I'm going to do them after. And I'm just going to bend them back carefully. And right now I'm just checking to see that the glue is in the back of the leaves. I'm pressing that down. So I'm just going to bend the flowers back gently and just add a little bit of glue to each flower and then glue that down. And then we'll do the other set of flowers as well. And I'm going to use my stamping block to hold that, press that in place. These stamping blocks are great for that. Now I'm going to add my gardening tools. And I realized I think I wanted to put the one gardening tool in behind the spout. But the spout, then I realized that no, I've already glued that down. So I didn't want to peel that up and ruin it. So I'm just going to add it leaning against the watering can. And I actually kind of like that better. And now we're going to add the seed packet and the trowel. And I decided that it would look better if it was just leaning against the other side of the watering can. I'm just getting rid of some of that excess glue off the mirrored cardstock. And now we're going to add the seed packet to the side of the watering can. Last, I'm going to glue on the happy birthday banner. And I'm just going to go in with a number 10 Jelly Roll pen and just give the heart some shine lines. I'm also going to add shine lines to the watering can, just to give it a little bit more dimension. Just adds a little bit extra detail to your work. Now we're going to add some Stickles Stardust Glitter Gel, and I'm just going to add that to the flowers and just along the lines going down the flower buds. Just a little bit, just to give it that little bit of extra dimension and shine so it's not so plain. And now I'm going to add glossy accents to the heart in the center. As you can see, that glitter gel just gives those little flowers some extra sparkle. And here I'm adding the glossy accents to the heart. The glossy accents are my husband's absolute favorite, so I always try to add a little bit to every card. And then when I show him, I'm always like, see, I use glossy accents. And I'm also going to add glossy accents to the handles of the gardening tools. And this will take about an hour for the glossy accents and the glitter gel to dry completely. And I just set it aside to dry. Go have a cup of tea. And that's the card for today. So thank you so much for joining me, and we'll see you next week for my next video.